Detective Stephanie Hollinghead. And Stephanie, would you come this way, please? Let's hear it for Stephanie. This is long overdue, well-deserved. You got to understand that our detectives do, like Shane over there, as well as the rest of the detectives, do a phenomenal job all the time for us. And they often don't get so-called glory out of these kinds of things, and the reason is because they're not in patrol. And in patrol, you're the first ones on the scene, and usually that's where the action is and everything else. Stephanie has, as well as the rest of our detectives, have the burden to follow up on every investigation that is possible to investigate, depending on the information that they have within the police report, where our first responders, uniformed police officers, get that information. They have to follow it up. In addition, she's one of 3 female police officers that I have. And in addition to that, she handles, as well as the rest of the detectives, every natural death, suicide, and homicide that we may have here in the city. And that's not a very pleasant job. In addition to that, it's all the domestic violence cases and just about everything that we talk about on a weekly basis concerning all the crimes that we have. These are the people who investigate. On top of that, Shane has a multitude of duties, as well as all the rest of our detectives. They don't just follow up cases. And in the case of this young lady here, she has one of the most difficult tasks that we have. As you all know, when I got here, one of the very first things that I implemented here was a policy on how we were going to hire people. And that hiring process is far different than it was before. In the past, it was who you knew. Now they have to take an exam, a written exam, a physical in case of police officers, a polygraph exam, a psychological exam, an interview process, and one of her jobs is to handle all the polygraphs of all our hirees. In addition to that, she handles all our polygraphs if it's an internal affairs investigation. On top of that, if there's any other investigation where we need a polygraph examiner, she does that on top of that. In addition, if you've heard, and see, I'm talking about things that she does that we're not even giving her credit for the most part here today, for this month. In addition to that, she's on the FBI task force as far as handling internet crimes with sex offenders. So she's one of those detectives who acts like a young female or a male, I guess. And she's the one who helps us get rid of some of these people who are our greatest sex offenders. So this month, however, supervisors in your chain of command recommended that you be recommended for your actions during the month of July 2011. Be commended for your actions. As a result, you were named the Citizen Advisory Committee Officer of the Month. Over the last month, you've done numerous background checks on potential new employees for the department. You were also tasked with completing polygraphs on each of those potential employees. While doing this, you managed to still work a heavy caseload. For example, during the month, you were assigned to investigate a check cashing ring that involved checks being cashed over Baldwin County, totaling thousands of dollars. You notified the surrounding police agencies and also contacted the bank security companies. You were able to obtain the names of the suspects involved in the case and immediately notified the banks to provide them with the information and inform them to contact the police if they returned. Suspect photos were also obtained for the banks. In addition to the case, you were assigned, in another case, you assisted a patrol division who was responding to a welfare concern call involving a victim who was transported to the hospital by a medical unit. The victim had been on the floor for an extended period of time, had suspicious blisters all over her body that could not be explained. It appeared to be a possible domestic situation due to past history between the victim and the male on the scene. The male could not explain why he allowed her to lay on the floor for days, and the victim was unable to talk at the time. For several weeks, you visited a hospital almost daily, and even sometimes at night, to check on the welfare of the victim and to investigate possible domestic abuse. You stayed in contact with the victim's mother, offering any assistance and to keep up with the victim's recovery. In general, while maintaining your caseload, processing pre-employment backgrounds and polygraphs, and assisting other law enforcement agencies, you still find time to help your fellow coworkers with their requests. You have an overflow of job duties and do an outstanding job in performing those duties. As a result, you are a credit to our department and the entire law enforcement community. These actions are in keeping with the finest traditions of professional policing, and I commend you for your compassion, selflessness, and willingness to serve and protect others. Sincerely, Bill Press. Congratulations.
James gonna get a picture.
Hold on. There you go. From the Grand Hotel, dinner for two.
Thank you.
And this is yours, obviously, and we would like to hear any comments that you may have.
Thank you. I'm just doing my job. I do what I do every single day, and I do just what Shane does and everybody else. So, and I don't think it's as, anything out of the ordinary or anything that I do special. I just consider it my job. So, and we all do it. Everybody in investigations does it. And we couldn't do it alone. It takes every single one of us to do, and to do what we do every day. And we have to work as a team. So it is hard to take credit for this being one person, because I know what the team does together. So, but I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
I think you all know that we all appreciate everything that all of you do. I mean, you guys put your lives on the line every time you stop somebody, and a lot of times you don't get any credit. I mean, you only get grief